All right, had to take a little break there. I didn't realize this was getting as long as it is, but let's continue on with our stuff here. The Seattle-Arizona game, we can just go over that now since it is on the main slate. Seattle-Arizona, 55-point over-under. That's a pretty decent total there, with Arizona being 3.5-point underdogs. Let's take a peek at what we have on the offensive passing side. We have pass protection from Arizona, middle of the road. Seattle doesn't generate very much pressure. And on the Seattle side, we see that their pass protection is pretty poor. Arizona generates middle of the pack pressure against the pass. So on the passing side, Arizona, I would say Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson are both in play here. I do think this will be a pretty even, well-fought battle there. I think both defenses are poor enough and the offenses are good enough that we'll see quite a few points here. But on the offensive side for Arizona, pass rush, we see 18. Seattle doesn't generate very much pass rush, so I'd be looking at Kyler Murray being able to have a lot of time, and probably meaning Hopkins will have a monster game, and you might be able to see a deep bomb to Christian Kirk in this game, given that Seattle's secondary also is not very good. So I would be looking at pretty much just Hopkins and Christian Kirk and nobody else in the passing game for Arizona. I just don't think they're able to pass that much. Maybe if you're desperate, you could look at somebody like a Chase Edmonds. He's probably, the third best pass catcher on that team. Larry Fitzgerald, you can kind of put him in the back burner. He's got no ceiling. And on the running side for Arizona, we see that the run blocking is 18th. Seattle actually 12th against the run, and they're probably even better than that. They just got dominated by Minnesota, so I think that's kind of boosting that up. Arizona, I just don't see. They have not been running the ball well. I don't think Kenyon Drake's going to have a very good game, considering they haven't been running the ball well. Drake hasn't looked good running the ball, and he's not involved in the pass game hardly at all. So Drake's probably somebody that you can avoid in this game. Seattle side of the ball, look at the pass protection, 30th. Arizona, middle of the pack for generating pass rush. So Russell Wilson might be under a little bit of duress in this game. Tough to say, but he's usually pretty good about that. And he's really good at escaping pressure. I could see him having a little bit higher end of a rushing game for Week 7. On the offensive run blocking side, we see they're pretty good. 9th, Arizona is actually towards the bottom of the middle range. Anyway, at 19th there, I could see Seattle having a pretty decent run game. Chris Carson's probably somebody that, might see himself getting into the end zone at some point. Maybe one rushing, one passing, especially if Arizona is generating some pressure on that line. Chris Carson's been used heavily in the pass game past few weeks, so I think he might be involved in that game plan. Otherwise, Arizona, they're not very good on defense either, and Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson, so some wide receiver people obviously is just funneled essentially to Lockett and DK Metcalf, and tertiary guys, I think they're using the running backs mainly, and you could probably look at one of the tight ends, but they have so many, Will Disley and Greg Olsen. I don't really want to choose which one is going to maybe have a good game. So I'd narrow it down to basically just Lockett and DK Metcalf on the wide receiver aspect, and none of their tight ends. Patrick Peterson, I think, still shadows the best wide receiver. And to be honest, I think a lot of people now are scared of DK Metcalf, and rightfully so. The dude's a beast. So I think Patrick Peterson's going to be on DK Metcalf. Metcalf has performed well against some of these top-notch corners that he's played, but a lot of that resulted on deep bombs, and I'm not exactly sure if that's sustainable. A lot of times he's only getting like 4 receptions on 4 targets or 5 targets, but he's hauling them in for like 96 yards and 2 touchdowns, or 95 yards and a touchdown, whatever, against some of these elite corners based off of 1 deep bomb. So I would look at DK Metcalf maybe to have a lower end ceiling on this game. Could he find the end zone? Absolutely, against Patrick Peterson, whose pass is prime for sure, but he's still a pretty good cornerback. And then I would look at Arizona, where they have Drake Kirkpatrick on the other side. Also not that bad, but I think Lockett can dominate that matchup if Drake Kirkpatrick's going to be on him most of the time. Look for Lockett to have a bigger game probably than DK Metcalf in this, and the 55-point total is probably pretty close to what it's going to end up being. I could see them being like a 30-24 type game here, somewhere around there with Seattle winning that, so adjust accordingly. Jacksonville and the Chargers. We got Jacksonville 7.5-point underdogs with the 49-point implied total there. Let's take a peek. Nothing kind of popping off the page as far as matchups are concerned. Chargers pass protection, middle of the road, and their run blocking is poor. So look for the Chargers. Actually, Jacksonville is 13th, towards the higher end of the mid-range, and Clippers. The Chargers are not very good at run blocking. So let's look at the Chargers. I know a lot of people are probably going to be on Justin Jefferson and Joshua Kelly in this game. I don't think they're going to produce very well. And we just kind of look at Jacksonville. Generates almost no pass rush here. 32nd, absolute worst in the league. And Chargers are 16th, so middle of the road, where they're not going to be able to run the ball in Jacksonville. I think what you're going to want for the Chargers is actually their pass game this week. You're going to get a lot of people on Justin Jefferson. You're going to get a lot of people on Joshua Kelly, I think, this week, because they're cheap and they're playing Jacksonville. But what actually happens in Jacksonville, like last week, is the pass game goes bonkers on them, and the rush game is kind of left in the dust. So look for the same thing to happen in the Chargers game here. I just don't think they're going to run that often, and this is a good spot for Justin Herbert, I believe, to have a very good game. As far as them not generating any pressure, I could see them getting a few deep bombs, and that would mean Mike Williams or the Jalen Guyton. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Guyton's been getting some really deep bombs. So I could see, with them not generating any pressure, Guyton getting a long bomb in this game. Mike Williams is also more of a deep threat in this passing offense. He could have a pretty solid week as well. And then Keenan Allen seems to be the favorite target of Herbert, which might cut into Williams' production, especially, I mean, if Herbert hyper targets Keenan Allen. So if he's getting open because they don't have a pass rush or anything, I could see Herbert just being able to sit back there and pass it to when Keenan Allen gets open, and Keenan Allen having quite a few targets and quite a few catches in this game, which would probably limit the upside of Mike Williams in this. But yeah, I think they could dink and dunk all day, and I think Herbert's probably going to be the one that you want to roster in your DFS lineups and even as a streamer this week. I could see him having a pretty good game because I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball against Jacksonville. On Jacksonville's side, if you look at the pass protection, not very good. The Chargers, surprisingly, aren't very good at generating pressure on the quarterback either. I thought they'd be a little bit better than that, but that's kind of a wash. Then you look at the run blocking. Jacksonville's probably bread and butter is their run blocking. They're 14th, but Chargers, middle of the road against that too. Just with the way that Minshew's been playing lately, I would say Jacksonville's probably going to rely heavier on the run than anything. So I would look at, on the Jacksonville side, the pass catchers. I think they have a pretty good corner, a slot corner with the Chargers. So I would avoid Keelan Cole and look more towards the DJ Chark getting a bunch of targets, and it's probably the one pass catcher I want to own or roster this week is DJ Chark. I just don't see them having a very good passing game against the Chargers, even though their pass rush isn't very good. I know the cornerbacks are actually quite good on the Chargers. So I would have fade the pass game there and look more towards, if anything, James Robinson and the run game having a little bit better success against the Chargers. the 49-point total there, I just don't see that being hit in this game. I think it's going to be basically all Chargers scoring quite a bit of points through the air, and then Jacksonville just sucking. And hopefully, if you have James Robinson, you can start him and maybe get a touchdown out of him in this game. But I don't see Jacksonville scoring very many points in this game, and in an attempt to come back or at least be somewhat decent, I would say James Robinson and Chark are your best bets on the Jacksonville side. Otherwise, mostly fade that game. San Francisco, New England. We have San Francisco as 3-point underdogs at New England. Just going through here, not anything to worry about as far as the pass rushers are concerned. Blocking for the run. New England pretty good at run blocking. San Francisco's adjusted line yards against the run pretty good. So New England probably not going to be able to run the ball. And then you're going to be looking at them probably needing to pass more. San Francisco does give up quite a few rushing yards to quarterbacks, but I think they've also played Seattle and Arizona, so that might be skewed a little bit. This is a game that I probably full on avoid. I just don't know what's going to happen with the San Francisco backfield with Tevin Coleman out and Mostert out. I would say McKinnon and Jeff Wilson. If Jeff Wilson plays, he's probably going to get the vast majority of the work. At the end of the last game, it was JaMycal Hasty, so it's kind of a backfield I want to avoid. If I had to start somebody here, it's probably, if Jeff Wilson is active, it's probably Jeff Wilson getting most of the work. McKinnon just seems to be like the third down back, and then JaMycal Hasty is probably going to be the one that's splitting the carries with Jeff Wilson. So this is a matchup that I'm just basically full on fade. I think the defenses are going to dominate this game. On the New England side, it's just gross. Like the only guy I ever want to start in any given week on the New England side is just Cam Newton, and I don't see him having like a ton of success in this game. I think San Francisco is going to just basically try to run the ball, and they're pretty good at doing that. And New England, not very good at necessarily defending it. So look for San Francisco probably to run against New England, and it's just going to be a slow game. I don't want any part of that for daily fantasy. All right, we come to our last two games on the slate here. We got Kansas City at Denver. Nothing popping off the page here as far as this is concerned. Denver's pass protection, not very good. Kansas City, middle of the pack for pass rush. It seems like they are pretty good at stopping the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. So Drew Lock, I think, is a turnover machine. He's not very good just in general, kind of a one-read guy, and if that's not open, I think he gets flustered. So I can see Kansas City getting after him with Denver's poor pass protection and getting a few sacks and maybe an errant throw or two from Drew Lock. So look for them to have maybe 2 interceptions or so in this game from Lock. And then you look on the Kansas City side, offensive pass protection, first overall. Denver, not too bad at getting after the quarterback, actually, 11th there. So I think that one probably favors Kansas City being able to pick where they want to pass. As far as the running, those basically are a wash there. So you look at Kansas City offensive run blocking 11th, Denver's 14th. Denver's not that bad against the run. And then you look at Denver run blocking 30th, Kansas City against the run 23rd. I don't think Denver's going to be able to run the ball against Kansas City either, even though most people do. I just see this being a weird interdivisional game. It's probably going to be a little bit lower scoring, and Vegas has it as lower scoring, 44, with Kansas City scoring 26. So it's in Denver, so I don't know. This is a game where if I'm going to guess, it'd be probably a Tyreek Hill type game where he catches one long bomb or a few of them, and possibly a Travis Kelce game. Other than that, I don't know if I really want to start a whole lot of people in there. It's a low implied total, and I see this being a tough interdivisional game where Kansas City kind of wins and just runs out the clock, and Denver doesn't move the ball. I could even see Kansas City maybe scoring on defense too, just if Denver's in desperation mode. So, Yeah, I don't know. As a full-on fade for anybody here, Denver's pass game, Denver's run game wouldn't be starting pretty much anybody there. And maybe you can start Kansas City's defense as they'll probably generate some pressure and get a few turnovers there. Last game on the slate here, Tampa Bay and Las Vegas. I'm actually pretty excited about this because if you look at Tampa Bay, they're green everywhere here. So against on the passing side, they're second against the opposing defenses, or this is their defensive pass rush is really good. So you're looking at them generating a lot of pressure. Las Vegas 12th, they're kind of top end of the middle of the road. So I think that favors Tampa Bay a little bit. Vegas probably going to be able to hold them at bay for the most part, though. Decent enough in the pass protection. But here we go. Tampa Bay offensive pass protection 4th. Las Vegas 24th at generating pressure, adjusted sack rate. I think this is going to be a big Tom Brady game, to be honest. He's going to have a lot of time to throw. They just got smashed. Or wait, no, they smashed Green Bay. But either way, I think he's going to come out here and he's going to just dominate Las Vegas on their passing options there. I see this being a Tom Brady game, even though if you look at the run blocking, they're top 10 and Las Vegas is 29th, and they do give up a lot of points to the running back. It's just, I don't know. I think Leonard Fournette's going to come back, and then it's going to be Ronald Jones and Fournette kind of splitting carries there. One of them or both of them probably score a touchdown in this game. I wouldn't expect them to score more than that, but I see Tom Brady trying to light the world on fire. Las Vegas was kind of mentioned as far as teams that were interested in him, and he didn't end up going there. And Las Vegas has a decent record, so I think Tom Brady is going to come out and want to show them that, hey, like, our team is also 4-2. You guys are 4-2, but we're much better, and I want to prove it. So look for Tom Brady to have a good game. As far as the pass catchers are concerned, I don't know Vegas's tendencies, but I would say look at your Chris Godwins, and with everybody back healthy, Godwin and Evans and Scotty Miller and Gronk and whatnot, I would look at those guys that are probably not being looked at by the defense. So Godwin and Evans probably going to garner most of the attention. Look for Gronk and Scotty Miller maybe to have bigger games this week. And then you have Godwin and Evans probably still producing, but they're going to give you some of those middle of the pack kind of games where it's 5 for 60 yards and 6 for 70 yards or something, nothing amazing. And then look for Gronk and Scotty Miller to probably have similar games but not be a focal point of the defense. So look for those guys to maybe score in this game. And on the Vegas side, I just don't see them. I don't know. I think they're just going to get dominated in this game. It's going to be a Derek Carr trying to come back type game. So I would fade the Josh Jacobs. He's probably not going to score when they lose. Josh Jacobs generally doesn't score, or I don't think he's ever scored when they have lost a game. So I'll fade him. I don't see them winning this game. And then Derek Carr, the passing game options in there. I'm not exactly sure who they have outside of Waller. You might be able to look at Nelson Aguilar, has been having some good games lately, and Hunter Renfrow maybe getting a few receptions in this game. But I just think Tampa Bay is going to blow out Las Vegas here. I think their defense is just going to overwhelm Las Vegas, and Tampa Bay is a defense that I would actually be targeting as well. I just think Las Vegas is going to have to come back, and they can't move the ball, so I think they're going to have plenty of opportunities to get sacks and possibly a turnover or two, even though they're pretty good at pass protection. I could just see them getting a few sacks and maybe a pressure in there that leads to a turnover from Derek Carr. So anyway, guys, that's the final end for the Week 7 matchups. Hope you enjoy this first ever production of trying to get you some daily fantasy advice and maybe some streaming options that you can look at, especially with all the injuries and COVID craziness that's going on. So look for more of these posts in the future for Week 8. I'll have that come out probably on Saturday or Friday sometime this week. And hopefully you can win some money by following some of this advice. Thanks, guys. Peace out. Have a good one.